All right, here we go. On to the amazingly accomplished Hall of Fame inductees tonight. We're going to our first honoree is Mark Bernardino. And please take a look at the screens for a moment as we get a video introduction, and following that will be Mike Miller, who will come to the stage to do an introduction.
It's been said you cannot measure a person by the numbers, but in the case of North Carolina State Associate Head Coach Mark Bernardino, the numbers are staggering. Imagine this in a coaching career: 102 first-team NCAA All-Americans, 127 All-American relay teams, 164 male ACC individual titles, and 118 female ACC individual titles, plus 102 combined ACC relay titles. Now, in the interest of time, we can't tell you all of them. We can't leave out 31 Atlantic Coast Conference Coach of the Year titles. Mark has coached at least one NCAA or USA Swimming national champion in each of the last 4 decades. Bernardino's path to greatness was first forged in his 35-year tenure at the University of Virginia from 1978 to 2013 that included 27 combined ACC titles. The Wahoo men were the first to win 16 team titles, and the women were the first to capture 11 team titles. In between Charlottesville and Raleigh, Mark spent 4 seasons at the University of South Carolina, helping that program rise to new heights. Bernardino hasn't spent all of his time around ACC and SEC pools, serving as 2-time head coach of the USA World University Games team, plus stints as an assistant for the USA National Junior Team and the EAT team at the USA Olympic Festival. Outside of the water, Mark served as president of the CSCAA for 2 years and on the board of directors for 4. Bernardino's career has been filled with constant triumphs in and out of the pool, and his list of legendary swimmers who've succeeded guided by his influence is endless, as are the titles and honors he has accumulated. But no, you can't simply judge him by his numbers. The American Swimming Coaches Association is honored to add to our Hall of Fame Mark Bernardino.
Mike Miller to do the introduction.
That was an amazing video, and it will shorten my talk up a little bit, which is good for everybody in the audience, because I'm not going to repeat what I just heard. But my name is Mike Miller. I've known Mark since we were undergraduates together at the University of Virginia in the early 70s. We're getting old, Mark. Our paths didn't really cross that much until the oldest of our 2 sons, as a 9-year-old, attended Mark's swim camp in the summer of 1994. Fast forward to 2004, and our son was the first year at the University of Virginia who walked onto Mark's team. Our son ended up swimming for Mark for all 4 undergraduate years. He became a co-captain of the team his 4th year, and by his 3rd year, his younger brother had joined him on the UVA team. Our sons becoming members of the UVA swim team really was the beginning of our family's close relationship with Mark. Why am I starting this introduction by talking about our son swimming for Mark at UVA? We'll come back to that question shortly, but you'll better understand in a few minutes, I promise. I am truly honored to be here introducing Mark. Truthfully, my wife and I are honored just to be here in person at Mark's induction ceremony. Being asked to introduce him goes way beyond anything I ever expected. But I'm certainly glad to be doing so because I think I can talk about Mark Bernardino, the person, in a way that many of you probably don't know. Mark's never been one to sing his own praises, but I have no such inhibitions. So I'm going to skip over the Mark Bernardino, the swim coach, because that was a terrific video, and I think it did a wonderful job of laying that out for everyone. There's more I could say about Mark, but I do have limited time, so I'm going to talk about Mark the person. There are other great, highly accomplished swim coaches at all levels of swimming, but there is only one Mark Bernardino, just one. He's one of the most humble, hardworking, loyal, dedicated, and high-character persons I've ever known. He has always respected his athletes and treated them fairly. He cherishes his family, and he is a man of his word. He always delivers on what he says he will do. He conducts himself with dignity and integrity. He's highly respected, and he's loved by many, and not just his family and the swimmers he has taught and coached, but many like me whose lives he has touched and at times truly changed. Let me tell you a story to illustrate what I'm talking about, and then I'll turn the stage over to Mark. Like his older brother, our youngest son, Matt, walked onto Mark's team at UVA in 2006. The following year, at the end of the swim season, Matt broke my heart and decided to leave the team. He had fallen in love with triathlons and joined the UVA triathlon team. A year and a half later, on a Sunday morning in early November 2008, Matt was seriously hurt in an accident while biking on the Blue Ridge Parkway with members of the triathlon team. He was hit by a car square in his face. He was thrown over 60 feet, landing in the roadway, still strapped in his bike pedals. His face had been completely smashed in, and he had stopped breathing when a doctor, driving the car behind the car that hit Matt, rushed over to do what he could for our son. Every bone in Matt's face was broken or shattered, but there was remarkably no serious damage below the neck, including with Matt's spine. The face had taken on the full impact from the car. Matt was medevaced to the UVA Trauma Center, where we learned that he had suffered a serious traumatic brain injury. The doctors put him into an induced coma, hoping that the swelling in his brain could be contained. The prognosis was not good. We were told that Matt could die within 72 hours, and that was the time period that really determined the outcome. Our family had all been together that weekend, with our oldest son with us as he had flown back from Stanford, where he was in his first year of law school. We were a total mess, sitting in a room next to the ER where Matt was fighting for his life when Mark walked in. Apparently, word had spread throughout the UVA swim community that Matt had been in this accident, and when Mark learned of the situation, he immediately came to the hospital to be with us. Swim season was in full swing, but that didn't matter to Mark Bernardino. One of his former swimmers was in desperate straits, and although Matt had only been a one-year member of the team, Mark was there. Matt was brought out of the induced coma 3 days later and began a rather miraculous recovery. His face, as I said, had been literally shattered. He had lost all his teeth from the accident. He was wired shut to allow his jaw to begin healing. He had been given a tracheotomy by the doctors who had surgically repaired his face, the first of several surgeries. But within a couple of weeks, Matt was able to get out of bed and begin the long road back to recovery. And Mark was there every day for the next month until Matt was discharged. Mark Bernardino stopped by the hospital almost always twice a day, typically in the morning after swim practice, and then again later in the day, usually after the second practice had ended. Mark never wavered during this time. In fact, he began coaching Matt again with the singular purpose of getting him well enough to get him out of that hospital. He and Matt would walk the hospital floors, and then they moved to doing steps in the stairwells. As Matt grew stronger, their treks around the hospital and in the stairwells became longer and longer. Mark was in the throes of the swim season, running 2-a-day practices, preparing for meets, handling all the various administrative chores and duties that coaches are expected to do. But he was coming to the hospital every day, coaching Matt back to health. My family will never forget what Mark did for Matt and our family during this time. One last postscript to this story. After Matt was released, he still had his trach for some time. But as soon as it was removed, Mark had Matt come to the UVA pool, dive in, and swim some laps. No let up from the coach. He was determined to get Matt all the way back. And he did. Today, Matt is a facial plastic and reconstructive surgeon and heads the Facial Nerve Center at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And in 2010, just about 2 years to the day after his accident, during a break from medical school, Matt, with his family there to support him, did his first Ironman triathlon competition in a time of 10 hours, 30 minutes. It was his way of showing his family and Mark that he was all the way back. His first call afterward was to Mark Bernardino. There are more stories I could tell about Mark, none more dramatic, but all demonstrating what an incredible, high character, dedicated, and caring person Mark Bernardino is and always has been. He is one of my very closest friends, really like a member of our family. And it is my immense pleasure and honor to introduce him this evening and to welcome him into the ASCA Hall of Fame. No one could be more deserving. Mark Bernardino.
That Matt Miller's a pretty tough cookie. Good evening, everyone. Dudley, congratulations, Coach. Proud of you. Jeannie, congratulations. The Duncan family, congratulations. What a privilege to share this night with you. Longtime colleague, longtime friend. Really just honored to be with you here today. Mike Miller, thank you for that introduction. You're my most trusted, my most loyal, dear friend. You're my brother. Thank you. Tonight is about family, it's about relationships, it's about reflections, it's about friendships, it's about lessons learned, it's about moments treasured. Most importantly, it's about thank yous, thousands of thank yous. I have my own Hall of Fame, which explains why I'm standing here. And it begins with my family, my wife Terry, my #1 Hall of Famer. We've been together for nearly 40 years now, and through the many ups and downs, your faith, trust, and confidence in me has never wavered. On many occasions, you have stated, I didn't marry someone who fails, so let's win. You've been the perfect partner, mother, and best friend. You raised our 4 children to be strong, successful, independent, intelligent, resourceful, and resilient. You sacrificed your career for me and for our family. Indeed, you are my GOAT. Kathleen, Megan, Michael, and Kevin, thank you so much for your many sacrifices. Thanks for understanding the intricacies, the nuances, and the peculiarities of my profession. Thanks for being so understanding when I missed your recitals, rehearsals, performances, games, and meets. Thanks for bringing my 2 wonderful grandchildren, Harper and Henry. Thanks for marrying Mark and Kristen into our family. Kathleen and Harper, I wish you were here, but make sure you know Pops understands. To Jennifer Lamont and the ASCA committee, Coaches Holloway, Warham, Onken, Osting, Murray, thank you for considering my life's work to be worthy of such an honor. To my coaching colleagues and peers, know that I am extremely honored, humbled, and grateful to represent you tonight and always as a swim coach. I've relied on several very basic principles during my career. 1, the swimmer always comes first. 2, conduct myself with integrity. 3, be honest and fair. 4, be loyal to my athletes and teams. 5, forever be passionate about what I do. I stand on the shoulders of my family, swimming athletes, coaching colleagues, and friends. No accomplishment would be possible without them. Listen to the names of my assistant coaches: Bill Smythe, Doak Finch, Dave Fafara, Dean Watkins, Katie Robinson, Eric McElwam, Bob Clemmer, Tom Popdan, Sharon Krieger, Chip Klein, and Laura Seibold. Exceptional coaches all. Every head coach needs assistants like these. Bill, Doak, and Dave, special recognition to each of you for your loyalty, friendship, and excellence. I've been at this a long time, so let me recognize the old guard who mentored me and influenced me. Doc Councilman, Peter Daland, George Haynes, Frank Keefe, Don Easterling, Nort Thornton, Sue Clayton, Dick Geyer, Doug Fonder, John Flanagan, Jack Roach, and Bob Steele. I hope as I speak you will recognize names and think about the greatness and the genius of these coaches. There will be more names to come. I can't claim genius or brilliance or creativity. I'm not sure I have had any original thoughts, but I am good at piecing the creative thoughts of others together in a plan that works for me. The 2 key pieces of that plan are and always have been relationships and communication. Be observant and listen, and be willing to push any challenge your athletes might fear past their comfort zones. I've had a law of the 9 E's. Each of these words will begin with the letter E. The byproduct of these 9 E's is excellence. If you are able to display eagerness, effort, emotion, encouragement, energy, enthusiasm, excitement, and execution, the end result will always be excellence. How about these influential coaches in my career? Ron Ballatori, Dick Jokums, Bill Rose, Cindy Gallagher, Jill Sturkle, Jim Steen, Dan Ross, Greg Perini, Jim Ellis, Ernie Maglishko, Kathy Wickstrand, Richard Quick, Steve Collins, June Parker, Bruce Gemmell, Rob Orr, Harvey Humphreys, Kathy McKee, Denny Persley, Pete Hovland, Susan Teeter, Karen Moe Thornton, David Marsh, Bob Bowman, Matt Kredich, Bill Dorencott, and Jeff Brown. There are lots of great coaches sitting in this room because you give your swimmers a great experience. Keep making these swimmers believe in themselves and keep making these swimmers attempting to be the very best in the world. To my USA Olympians, 1996, Melanie Valerio and Pete Wright. 2000, Ed Moses. 2012, Matt McLean and Lauren Perdue. To my USA National Champions, Fran Crippen, Will Gallant. To my NCAA champions, Carol Lane, Shamek Batuka, Ed Moses, Matt McLean, and Will Gallant. To my many swimmers who represented the USA on so many international teams, my deepest thanks and gratitude. You made me look good. To my first recruiting class, 1983 at UVA, thank you for taking a massive risk on an unproven rookie coach and for building the foundation of something great. To my first championship teams, the 1987 men's team and the 1990 women's team. You got it done. You made it happen so others could follow, and indeed they did. The 2000s were our decade, and we had so much fun winning. Together, we won together. Team is family. If you are here and you've ever swum for me, please stand up so you can be recognized. Thank you for being here. Let's mention some coaches where there is no end in sight who have made great impact on me and on our sport. Eddie Reese, Mark Schubert, Steve Boltman, Chris Davis, Bruce Marchanda, Paul Silver, Jimmy Tierney, Sergio Lopez, Mike Bottom, Dave Salo, Jack Roach, Dave Durden, and Russell Mark. I want to make certain that I say these names today because whether you knew it or not, you had major impact on my coaching and how I approach the sport. Let's mention some of the young guns. Dan Kolupski, Todd DeSorbo, Doug Warham, Chris Plum, Stephanie Junker, Brent Arkey, Blair Bachman, Anthony Nesty, Anthony's young to me, Gary Taylor, Albert Subritis, Bobby Guntoro, Carol Capitani, Holly Bonowit-Crone, Steph Williams, Jeremy Lin, Dan Kessler, Jake Schrum. The future of our sport is in such great hands. We have so many great young men and women getting ready to lead our teams. There are 6 coaches who are watching from above that I lost this year. All of these men were pivotal in my coaching development and my coaching career. Close friends, Dan Colella from Duke and Andy Lowe from Suffield Academy. My first age group coach, Danny Reichert. I remember as a 9.5-year-old going to Mainline YMCA in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. I knew nothing about the sport of swimming. And this gentleman with a gruff voice came over, knelt down beside me and said, "What stroke do you swim?" And I responded, "I don't know, what are they?" And he told me butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. I thought butterfly sounded cool, so I said butterfly. And he said, "All right, I'm going to teach you how to do butterfly." And that stroke was very good to me through my entire swimming career and my entire coaching career. Ron Good, my college coach, pushed me, motivated me, took me to places I didn't know I could go, physically and mentally. Made a pretty good swimmer out of me, but I learned so much from him, and he was the coach who said to me, "You need to get into coaching." So after 2 years in business with Procter & Gamble, I called Ron, and I said, "I think I'd like to go to grad school and maybe be your assistant. Can you help me out financially?" And he said, "Well, I can pay $1,000 a year, but you're going to work every single practice, you're going to do recruiting, and you're going to learn how to do the job, or else don't waste my time." So I said, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll come to grad school and I'll coach with you." And I did, and he taught me so much, and it cemented for me the notion that I wanted to be a coach and commit myself to that life. Then a lot of you probably know Frank Keefe. Frank Keefe was my club coach my last year of high school and during the summers when I would go home. And Frank was a pretty gruff guy. He was a pretty tough guy. He lived about 7 blocks away from me. Well, my family only had one car. We had 6 people in one car. So I had to either take the bus to practice or hitchhike. And usually I would stand either in front of the bus stop or just a little beyond it, to see if the car would pick me up before the bus got there. And most days Frank Keefe would drive by me and just keep on going and get to practice. And finally one day I said, "Frank, do you not see me hitchhiking out there every day?" And he said, "Yeah, I see you every day." And I said, "Did you ever think about picking me up?" He goes, "Never. I'm your coach, not your taxi driver." That's Frank. But not only that, he had a special way of referring to me. I had pretty thick-skinned Italian guy, and Frank, he knew that I was pretty tough, that I didn't come from a whole lot. And so after every set, and I worked hard for that, man. After every set, a lot of swims, Frank would look over and he would say to me, "You effing dago, nothing you do is good enough for me. You'll never make me happy." And then he would proceed to chew me out, whether I won or I lost or I got second. Didn't matter to Frank. I was his go-to guy to alert the rest of the team that if I'm going to pick on him, you all better work hard. And I figured out why he picked on me. I understood what his motivation was. By using me as his punching bag, he could motivate and make sure the rest of the team worked hard. But I loved Frank, and I knew he loved me. And one day, it was December, between semesters, freezing cold, snowing, and I was out hitchhiking to practice, and he drove by me, and then all of a sudden, he slammed on the brakes, and he waved me to his car, and he said, "Get in the back seat." I got in the back seat, and he goes, "If ever you utter a word to anybody that I picked you up, I will swim the arms off of your body." He drove me 2 blocks from the pool. He slams on the brake and he goes, "Get out. Walk to the pool." I said, "What?" He goes, "I didn't give you a ride. Walk to the pool." I said, "Okay, Frank." So anyhow, for years after that, I was very confused. I know there's a lot of people in today's world that are confused too, but I thought my first name was you, my middle name was effing, and my last name was Dago. Took me a long time to remember who I really was. But for years and years, first way he would ever greet me, he would come up, he would give me a hug, and he would say, "How's my favorite effing Dago?" So I miss Frank. We had a lot of fun together. The last gentleman that I lost this year is Coach Don Easterling, and he was my mentor. He was my go-to guy all the time. I briefly told the story earlier today that when I got my first head coaching job, I was 26 years old at the University of Virginia, and admittedly, I knew nothing. Make no mistake about it, I was going to learn by the seat of my pants. So I called Coach Easterling. I called 2 people. I called Doc Councilman and I called Don Easterling. And I asked each of them I told them my story. I'm young, I'm learning, I've got this college team. I was hired on a 1-year interim basis. Either you do the job or you're gone. And I told them I would like to call them, ask them some questions, learn about training, learn about the sport of swimming. Would they help me? Doc Councilman, sure, you bet, I'd be glad to help you. Don Easterling, what the hell are you calling me for? You're in my conference. I'm not going to help you. I'm going to beat you. And I said, "Coach, you're the best coach in our conference, one of the best in the country. That's why I'm calling you." "I don't give a damn. I'm not going to help you." "Why did you call me?" And the only thing I could think of on the moment was, "Because I know you hate UNC, and so do I." And he said, "Okay, you got a deal, you can call me." And we became close friends for the next almost 45 years. And he worked my swim camp. We did so many things together. So we lost those coaches this year, but I wanted to remember them. And I wanted to pause and thank them for helping me get where I am. You know, I've coached sons and daughters of teammates. That's not a good thing for my eyes. There we go. I've coached sons and daughters of teammates and of swimmers that I've coached. I've coached brothers, I've coached sisters. To those families, the Millers, the Shrums, the Crippens, the Perdues, the Robertsons, the Ramirezes, among others. And if I forget anybody, I apologize, but I appreciate you and your faith in me more than you'll ever know. We all have a group of very special, very close, very important friends in our coaching closet. The ones counted upon on the most difficult and challenging times. The ones you share the happiest moments with, the ones you relied upon in the best and worst of times to lift you up and encourage you to take the next steps, to accept the next challenges. For me, those special coaches are very close to my heart and always will be. Jack Bowerly, we grew up together. Raced each other from the time we were 10 or 11 years old. Same event. Greg Troy, Tim Murphy, Brett Hawk, Ned Skinner, Dick Schulberg, John Urbanchek, Bobby Gunturo, Pete Morgan, McGee Moody, Brian Barnes, Bill Smythe, and Doug Finch. Then there's Coach Braden Holloway. What an honor to work with you every day, Coach Braden. Energy, excitement, enthusiasm, fun. You're a great coach, and I look forward to honoring you on your induction one day. I started my career, my athletic career, as a youth wrestler. My greatest inspiration to become a coach came from this phenomenal high school wrestling coach and his wife. I desired to be great like him. To be positive. I wanted to be enthusiastic like his wife. I wanted to positively affect the lives of as many people as I possibly could. As he and she did. I hope I made you proud, Dad, Mom. This is a We Award. All of you are in the Hall of Fame with me. Please accept this award with me. I would appreciate that very much. I thank you. I'm humbled, I'm honored, and I'm grateful. One last thing. I might never have a chance like this again. How ironic that a Philly-born, raised and diehard Eagles and Philly fan finds himself in Dallas with a microphone as football season begins. Oh my. How can I not end on this note? Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds.